Welcome to this new podcast by F-ONE. In this first episode, I'm joined by brand manager Julien Salles to dive straight into the topics of environmental sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Welcome, Julien.
Thank you, Christina.
First of all, can you tell us why we're doing this podcast?
When we release some marketing content on pretty much anything, product or brand marketing, we always have to go straight to the point, do something pretty short, only have the key points, mostly because we need to adapt to the short attention span. That's the norm nowadays. By doing this podcast, we can dive a bit deeper into the main project. That's the goal. And make something a little bit more personal. I think sometimes we release something online and I would like to say more about why we did it and where we want to go in the next years and everything. And I think this podcast will be very interesting for us, maybe for a few customers to dive deeper into F-ONE's vision. So yeah, really excited to start working on this. Ethics will be the first one. And we should dive into more product-oriented stuff, maybe more brand, R&D. We'll see. Whenever we have a big project coming on, we'll do a podcast about it.
So you mentioned ethics, and this first episode is coming out at the same time as F-ONE and MANERA are launching this new platform. Can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, the thing is, I've been trying for a few years to find a good way to share our vision on sustainability and ethics in general for our brands and company. And it's been very hard because we wanted to have a real impact rather than do what we call greenwashing. I hate that word. Sometimes I see people that have the right approach and do marketing about it, communicate about it, and customers call it greenwashing, even though it's something quite impactful. So I've been afraid, to be honest, to launch something about sustainability because you never know how the customers will react to it. So I really wanted to have the most neutral and objective approach possible. So we sat down and we asked ourselves, okay, we want to be a more sustainable company. So how do we achieve that? So where should we invest? And the truth is that we had an idea, but we didn't know for sure. So that's where we had the idea to audit the company. And obviously, when you audit the company, I thought it was more interesting to do it with an outside partner, an outside company that is specialized in environmental audits. So we did it with a company called Utopie, based in Paris. I think they've been the first company in France to do such thing for a while. So we gave these guys access to all our information, like everything from the headquarters. So how do each member of the staff is coming? Are they coming with public transportation? Are they coming with a big car, 4-wheel drive, or stuff like that? All the way to which supplier manufactures our raw materials in Asia. How do they ship it to the factory? How many posts we do on social medias? And it's been a year and a half in the making. We had Alison, a member of our staff, that was almost dedicated to that, finding the information, feeding Utopie with the right information. And then Utopie was in charge of gathering everything and read and translate the data into a document. I think this audit is really important for a company that wants to be more sustainable because it gave us all the necessary data to find the right action plan, basically. For example, you want to be more sustainable, and I see some companies that put solar panel on their headquarters and they really do big marketing about it. But we realize that our headquarters energy represents a very, very small part of our global footprint in terms of CO2. But when we see what really has a big impact is the energy consumed by our factory or raw material suppliers. So, if you have a few thousand euros to invest somewhere in solar panel, you'd rather invest them into installing solar panel in your partner's factory, rather than doing it in your headquarters. And that will save a lot more energy than doing it on the headquarters. So that's the kind of thing you realize once you do the audit and have all the data in hands. And we weren't really surprised by the results because we knew where are the big emissions for a brand like us. And it's no surprise they're on the raw material manufacturing and production and assembling of the products. Having the data helped us really build an action plan that will be really efficient. So whenever we use €1 to invest into being more sustainable, we know that €1 will really have an impact.
And we see in the industry or even in other sports, some companies opt for compensation. It seems that it's a bit of like the easier way. Why not do that instead?
Thing is, you have two choices, reduction or compensation. Compensation is kind of like if you do a mistake and then you say sorry. And reduction is not doing the mistake in the first place. So reduction is much harder because you really need to think different, to organize your company, to work differently. And you have to go deep into what should we change. So you have to change pretty much. Compensation is you allow a yearly budget and you compensate whatever mistake you did or whatever emission you did, but you don't have to change the company. You don't have to adapt to be more sustainable. And I really wanted to take the hard way and adapt the company. It's going to take much more time than just compensating, and it's a long-term project. But at the end, I think it's much more impactful and meaningful than compensating.
And this audit will be available for anyone on ethics, the website, to read over. What do you anticipate the reaction will be by clients and customers?
First, we really wanted to make it available for everyone, 100% transparent. So whatever Utopie, the outside partner, gave us, we're going to put it online. We didn't really change anything, it's just the raw data, just well organized to be easier to read, enjoyable to read at least, much more than a big Excel sheet. So everything will be transparent because I think in the future, people are really interested by the product that a company can do, but also by the behavior of this company overall, the ethics approach of this company and the philosophy behind the brand. And I really believe that in the future, every company will have to be as transparent with the customer as possible. Like the food industry, when you look at the food, at least in France, when you buy vegetables or stuff like that, where it's from, how it was made, if it's organic or not. I think it will be the case for most products in the near future, pretty much over all other industries. So I want to go there. I want F-ONE and MANERA to be at the forefront of this. So sharing 100% of these audits online on this ethic platform, I hope it will have an impact, and I really hope that people will be interested enough to just go and just look at a few pages, even if you don't read everything and spend hours on it, but just understand what we try to do, where we want to go, and also understand where outdoor goods company have the most impact. I think this is really interesting. What will be people's reaction? I have no idea. That will be really interesting. To be honest, I just hope for a reaction. The worst case for me would be to have absolutely zero comment or feedback. That would mean that everybody just doesn't give a fuck pretty much. So whether it's positive or negative feedback things that we can improve, that would be really interesting. I just hope people will click and read, otherwise it will not have been for nothing because it gave us a really strong action plan. But I think it will mean that maybe the industry is not ready for that, or people are not ready for that, or maybe we didn't have the right approach, but I still really believe in it. So we'll see.
So you talk about action plan. What is it? What's the vision for the short term and the long term?
As well as sharing 100% of the audit transparently on the ethics website, we are also sharing the action plan. Mm-hmm. So we reviewed every action that we want to put in place. We did a calendar, so we have deadlines and dates where we want to achieve every action. And that will be available on the ethics website too. So if you want to see what we're going to come up with in the next few years, then you need to go and check out this page. The goal right now was to act on the biggest CO2 emission posts that we have, raw materials and production, pretty much. So that's what we've been doing over the last year and a half. This is also the hardest, to be honest, because in order to change the raw material and production side of things, you need to change the suppliers. Mm-hmm. We don't own the suppliers. We don't control them. They usually supply to other brands, other industries that are much bigger than us. For example, a kite fabric supplier will also supply the jacket industry or, the outdoor tents or sleeping bag industries. These guys are much bigger than us. So, we can raise the arm and say, hey, you need to work on recycled things. And they will be like, later, you're not really important. So, but it's not the case for every supplier. And we've been working hard on this in the last few seasons. It takes a lot of efforts, a lot of time, because these are new fabrics. You need to test them for a long time, because the last thing we want is to release a fabric that is maybe 100% recycled in a kite or a wing, and then it's falling apart in 6 months to 1 year. That wouldn't be really sustainable. So that's the short-term approach, is trying to impact rapidly the biggest emission posts. And then we have a more long-term goals that we share on the website too. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to talk about the reduce, research, and lead by example, which are the three main pillars that you mentioned in another interview that's also up on the website.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit more what's coming in terms of research and leading by example?
So that's basically what I just said. Research is what I explained. Researching new raw materials, pushing the suppliers. I was talking about kite fabrics, but that there's also carbon, composite fabrics, resins, neoprene, jersey, and every apparel, stuff like that. So textile pretty much. So research is a very important one, because that's where in the future, it's maybe not short term, but in the future, we will be able to really cut our emissions. So according to Utopie, our outside partner, moving from classic fabric to a recycled, at least 100% recycled fabric, it cuts the emission by the footprint by 2. That's a lot. And that's not an easy, but that's a fast way to reduce your overall carbon footprint. So research is really important. The lead by example is very important to me too, because it's about inspiring people in and outside the industry. So there are some stuff that we push, and we have in the action plan that don't have a big impact on our overall carbon footprint. I'm thinking, for example, with MANERA, we stopped, I think 4 or 5 years ago, we decided to almost stop taking planes to go on photo shoots. So we decided that once every 3 years, we will take a plane to go do our photo shoot. So we had to be creative. We were traveling mostly in Europe, France for 2 times, Galicia and Italy, Sardinia, stuff like that. And it worked really well. So you don't have to go all the way to the end of the world to make some exciting content. So we stopped doing this because we wanted to reduce the carbon footprint of sending 10 people in a plane, just for a 1 week or 2 weeks photo shoot. We know it doesn't have a big impact because the data shows it in the audit. It's a small percentage of the overall carbon footprint, but that's also showing our customers that you don't have to go to Brazil or Cape Town or stuff like that to be able to enjoy yourself, and I think it's also inspiring for maybe our athletes, they take a lot of flights and planes, and they don't maybe realize that it really increase their carbon footprint. So Yeah, the lead by example is more about inspiring people. So we will push action that don't have a big impact, but that are good for maybe changing the industry.
Yeah, changing the mindsets.
Yeah.
In terms of concrete actions, you mentioned the research for recycled materials and polyester sourcing and everything. Can you give us some other examples of some of the concrete actions or partnerships that are already in place with F-ONE and MANERA?
Sure, I can talk about a few examples. We can start with, I talked a lot about kite fabrics and everything, but it's good that I give maybe an example. So on the kite side, we partner with Brainchild. We started to work together. Well, I don't really remember, more than a year ago, I think, something like that. Brainchild is a manufacturer facility that is built in Eastern Europe, North Macedonia. And they are making, I was about to say they are about to, but they are actually producing kites in Europe with mainly European materials, with mainly recycled materials, and with very innovative technologies like printing instead of dyeing colors. And these technologies, they help save a lot of their carbon footprint. It's very impressive. And it's not only about the carbon footprint. It's also about polluted water, stuff like that, because dyeing colors is really bad for water quality, and other chemicals and energy too. So they use basically local sourced materials. They produce in the biggest market in the world, which is Europe. They use technology that are very innovative and, I don't like the word eco-friendly, but eco-friendlier, and recycled materials. And we're going to start, I think we're going to launch the first product that will be the Trigger Brainchild in about a month now. So very excited about that. And quantities, the production capacity is quite limited for now, but they are working towards increasing it over and over. So in the next few years, maybe we can think that, I don't know, half or more than our kite production will be in Europe with recycled materials, eco-friendlier technologies. And I think that's really exciting. And that will have a big impact on our overall carbon footprint. Now, for example, if we keep talking about the fabrics and production, on the neoprene side with MANERA, we've been doing the same for the last few years. We've been using our manufacturers' eco-friendlier technologies for years now. We don't market it as strongly as some competitors, but basically if you buy a MANERA wetsuit, you should know that we use and we've been using since day one every eco-friendlier technologies that all the other brands have been pushing a lot more than us. So yeah, kite fabrics, neoprene, we are doing research on composites for boards and foils, and basically I think the most important is to get sustainability embedded into our R&D department, so every time they do something, they have to think about the impact of it.
And if there's any other way to do it or any other solutions.
On freight and transportation, which is the third biggest carbon footprint emission post, this one is a hard one because we're on a very changing market. There's a new sport every season or every half a season. It's pretty crazy. And so for us, sometimes it's a matter of not survival, but it's a matter of keeping the business healthy to make air freight instead of sea freight. Air freight takes about 2 weeks, when sea freight now, with the geopolitical issues and everything that are happening in the Suez Canal, it takes 2 months or more than 2 months. So when you release a new product, we're a seasonal sport. So if you release it 2.5 months too late, then you're kind of fucked. You don't sell it. So sometimes we have to use air freight. And one of the big projects we've had in the last few months was to organize the company. So again, changing the company, adapting the company to be able to be ready in advance with our research and development in order to be able to use more sea freight than air freight, which will cut the transportation carbon footprint a lot too. So we're working toward that. And every year we're gaining a few weeks. I think in about 1 or 2 years, we will be organized enough with our R&D to be able to use mostly sea freight. So that's about transportation. We've been doing quite a few projects, interesting projects on the end of life of the product, because you need to think, being more sustainable, you need to think about the materials and the fabrics that build the product. You need to think about how you assemble the product. You need to think about how you ship the product, how you sell it, and then the end of life of this product. So what are you going to do? Are you going to put it in a landfill and then it will stay there and not be reused? So we've had a few projects on the end of life. Two good ones are Circular Flow and La Virgule. It's a factory in Bulgaria that gathers old wetsuits. They crush them and they build products out of these wetsuits. They don't use chemicals. They don't use a lot of power because they don't have to heat it when they do this process. So it's quite an eco-friendly process now. And I'm really excited because we've been gathering, I don't know how many wetsuits over the last year. Basically, we put box into our main retailers' doorstep, and then people could bring the old wetsuits. And we gathered them. And a few months ago, we shipped a container to Bulgaria with hundreds of old wetsuits. And we're about to receive the first production of car seat covers that are made from recycled wetsuits.
That's awesome.
So that will be a first in the industry, and really excited about that. It costs a lot of money to gather the wetsuit, ship them, and then recycle them because we have to pay for that. Then on the car seat cover, the price is so expensive that we have absolutely no margin on it. So we are not making money in the process yet, because I think one day, if every brand actually makes money in this process, then there will be a lot more brands doing it in the industry. So that's what we are trying to push. But right now, for a few seasons or a few years, we won't make money with that, but it's a good message. So I hope that, we place the recycled car seat cover at the same price, I think, or almost the same price as the non-recycled. So I hope people will go to the recycled one. La Virgule is another partner, more for F-ONE. We had hundreds of kites in the garage, that weren't used. We couldn't sell them because they were broken, damaged, or they were samples, and we cannot sell samples for insurance reasons. And we had these young guys, French guys, the company is called La Virgule. They are specialized in gathering old products from outdoor companies, making new products with them. So they can gather kites or inflatable boats, fabrics, tarpaulin, paragliding fabrics, lines, seat belts, fabrics. I mean, they can gather pretty much everything that is still tough enough to be rebuilt. They have a factory in Portugal, and they build, new products from our kite fabrics, like small bags, backpacks, stuff like that. It's very interesting for us to do that. We had these kites in the garage for years, and they were unused. And every year we still have some kites that we don't know what to do with them. And instead of throwing them in a landfill, it's really interesting to give them a second life. And we don't sell them, we just give them for free, and then they do their thing. And that helps them to keep their products not too expensive too, because it's important. So end of life is also a good one and easier one when we can find the right partner to be honest.
Right.
Then on the marketing side, I told you about what we do on the trips and everything. Not a big impact, but still very inspirational for the industry.
Yeah. And if you guys want to know more about Circular Flow and La Virgule, we have 2 articles up on the website, including an interview with Maxime, who is one of the co-founders of La Virgule. So we go a bit more into how the company was born and what they do with our kites. There's images. It's really, really cool to see how our old kites and prototypes are given a second life. It's very, very exciting for us. When is the next audit planned? Is there one coming? Yeah,
obviously we set our goal to do this audit every 2 years. So the one that will be released is from 2021. We're currently doing 2023, and we'll do 2025 when we'll be able to. And we'll analyze what happened in between these 2 years. It will be very interesting. I think we will come with two approach. One approach where we give the overall carbon footprint, and one approach where we will give the overall carbon footprint per turnover or depending on the turnover, because it's not the same numbers,
right?
Because the turnover is not the same in between 21 and 23. So we'll come with both approach and see where we are, and if we're not good, if we increase the carbon footprint, we will tell it. I mean, I want to be transparent 100%, even when it's not good. But yeah, we'll be working on improving that in the next seasons and years for sure.
One final question, I guess, in all of this, what matters to you the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. Huh? What matters to me in terms of message, in terms of impact, in terms of...
Like, what do you hope people get out from this?
Just, I think the most important for me would be there's a page where you have a graphic where you see the biggest, where the biggest footprint comes from, and you clearly see that more than 70% comes from raw materials and production. I don't think people realize that. I think people, I don't know what people think, maybe taking the plane or the headquarters energy or, I don't know what people think, but I don't think people realize that the biggest impact that a brand can have is probably the materials and the production, and that makes you think, I shouldn't say that, but should I buy a new kite? Should I buy a new product when it's not necessary? Should I buy just because it's 50% off? I definitely shouldn't say that. But, I think that's the kind of thing you really want to think about when you want to be more sustainable as a person, and I'm not talking only for kites.
Right,
should I buy this new bike or t-shirt or stuff like that? I think that's the real question you want to ask yourself. And yeah, if we can teach that to a lot of people in and outside the industry, then I think we managed to reach our first goal, inspire and show transparently where we have the biggest carbon footprint.
I'm not sure that you mentioned it, but maybe it will make people think also, because these results are true for us, but they will most likely for sure be true for every other brand in the industry. They're just not necessarily going to tell you. Maybe the numbers will change a little bit, but... Yeah,
obviously the numbers will change, but I think in terms of percentage in the different areas, then it's going to be almost the same, for sure.
Right.
We are a hard goods company, so we make technical hard products. So hard goods will be boards and bars and kites. Soft good will be fleece and t-shirts and caps, stuff like that. There's a big difference in between these two type of companies. When we sell foil, for example, it's quite a big turnover compared to when you sell a t-shirt. So to achieve, the same turnover as F-ONE and MANERA, when you are a fashion or apparel brand, you need to sell, I don't know the numbers, but like 50, 100 times more products than when we sell just one foil, And so I was surprised at first to see that for the same turnover, companies that are soft goods and we as hard goods, their carbon footprint is much worse than what we have, because they need to sell a lot of t-shirts to achieve the same turnover. So again, we're coming back to consumption. And, if you want to lower your carbon footprint, I think a good start is to stop consuming things that you don't really need.
Is there anything else that you would like to say or for people to know?
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, having no reaction at all, no feedback will be the worst for me. We're not professionals in this field. And I think we have a reliable partner in Utopia, but still, if there are some people that are skilled, experienced, and that are willing to read all the audits and come back to us with ideas on how to improve, what to change, what to do better, please share with us. I think it will be really interesting. We're not coming here saying that, we did that and the rest is shit and that's how everyone should do it. We just tried an approach and we will do our best to follow it. But I think we still have much to improve. So if someone has constructive, please, feedback for us, it's more than welcome.
Or if maybe some people know of other companies that we could partner with, like Circular Flow or La Virgule or anything else,
100%.
let us know. Yeah.
100%. We're really open to everything. And I think to achieve, to really reduce our footprint, then we need to be open. We need to be able to adapt. And again, it's a matter of changing how we do things. Takes a lot of time. It's not easy. But I think, in that matter, we need to stay open to new opportunities for sure.
Thank you, Julien.
Thank you.
As we say, don't hesitate to send us questions or comments or even requests if there's any topic that you would like us to talk about on this podcast. And in the meantime, you can read about our audit as well as our action plans and other articles on ethics on ethics.f-one.world.
That's a complicated one. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Thanks to the people that listen that long and boring podcast.